words away.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, with that, could I have a motion to?
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn to executive session.
42-36. Can you get it?
42 dash. 42-3 pursuant to job performance, character, physical, mental health of a person, provided that such person or person affected shall have been notified in advance in writing and advised that they may require that the discussion be held in an open meeting. Advance notice has been provided. And A2, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining, litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation.
Second.
All in favor then?
Aye.
So if you'll excuse us, we will be right back. So, could I ask how many people want to speak on our business agenda item number A, item A? I'm not sure what everybody's here for, so,
Which one is that?
it's A, it's the first.
No.
Oh, no, there you go. I don't know what, yeah. I just want to get a sense, so we're gonna,
Oh, maybe.
okay,
not.
well, then we're gonna, if there's a whole bunch of people, then I'd like to keep it to 2 minutes so that everybody has a chance to talk. And I was just trying to get a sense of how many people were here for that.
We'll see.
Okay, so, regarding roll call, can you let the record reflect that all members are present this evening? Thank you, Pat. And we'll start with subcommittee updates. Mr. Kelly?
So Health and Wellness. Okay. The Health and Wellness Committee met prior to today's meeting. We got a report from all our grade spans. The elementary schools are busily preparing for fourth grade to stay. And the addition of the guidance counselor will help with the health curriculum. 5 through 8 is looking into a different schedule, the 5-day schedule, so that will hopefully provide some more contact time for health classes. At the high school, we now have 300 students that are certified in CPR and first aid through the American Red Cross. The National Guard came recently and put together a boot camp sort of exercise, and we almost had 100% participation for our students. Project Purple Week, we only meet 4 times a year.
That's how far back we're going?
So Project Purple Week was a great success. We also had Congressman Cicilline and State Senator Jim Seveny come to Melville recently, and they participated in PE class, and apparently a great time was had by all. School Nurse Appreciation Day is tomorrow, so we have always been appreciative of our school nurse teachers. We're looking into a couple new programs, Girls on the Run and Box, and Chartwell's also taught some nutrition classes, along with food and art class, and the students seem to really enjoy it.
And what is Box?
Box is a before-school program that is structured physical exercise before the day starts. And there's a few districts in Rhode Island that are doing it, and so we're going to actually invite somebody to speak
Great.
to us. That's all.
Thank you. Are you gonna do the?
Well, I'll have to give it, because,
You're gonna-
yeah, so, this is the Technology Committee report, and, basically, we reported on the fact that on March 13th, we held our now annual Technology and Blended Learning Professional Development Day, and the consensus was that it went very well. Dr. Kenworthy's in the process of compiling the evaluation, so we'll have a more definitive report on that in perhaps the next school committee meeting or subsequent. We're in the process of updating our 5-year technology capital plan. The one-to-one rollout is going smoothly. Apparently, we've had a little more than expected damage to the Chromebooks. More than 30 of them apparently have been damaged or yeah, so we've had to call upon the insurance coverage to repair those, but that's a little higher than we might have expected.
Sixth grade?
Yeah, 6th grade, right.
We had a slow start beginning of the year, if you remember when we reported there wasn't, then all of a sudden, as we hit maybe like December, some breakages started happening.
No theft, it's just breakages, but 30s, it's actually more than 30. We didn't have an accurate number, but it's more than 30. And then we're in the process of updating our new district technology plan to essentially remain a leader in the state in technology, because I know we're among the top 3 or 4 districts in the state with regard to technology, but it still needs to be updated frequently, so we're in the process of developing the district technology plan and bringing it, modernizing it. And that's pretty much it. So we're doing well on the technology side, and hopefully we'll continue to do so.
Thank you. Public comment, no? Okay. And with that, I turn it over to the superintendent.
Sure, I'd like to announce that for the second time, we're the recipients of an Office of Naval Research grant. We have another cohort of teachers who will be trained in the Essential Physics program. So the school gets the free training, the teachers receive a stipend for the training, they get the free materials, the free software, and there's robots that are included in the program. All of those come from the grant to the school. So this is the second one that we've received at Portsmouth High School. So we're really excited about that. Again, this program is innovative and really focuses on physics, math, and engineering. So continuing down that pathway. And the second piece that I'd like to share is that, again, Portsmouth High School has been recognized by U.S. News as a silver level high school, number 591 in the national rankings, but number 3 in the state of Rhode Island. So we want to congratulate them and keep working towards moving that number up.
I think when we say that, it's always important to point out that that's out of 22,000 high schools.
You got it.
That's not an insignificant accomplishment.
No, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is our high school liaison here this evening? Yes, oh, hi, sir.
Hi, my name's Lexia Mayo, and I'm filling in for Sydney tonight because this will probably be my job next year.
Okay, that's great.
So at the school, last week and this week, we've all been taking, or most of us have been taking AP exams. So our advanced placement testing has been going on, normally 1 or 2 a day that's been going on throughout the building. And also our seniors are getting ready for their senior project presentations that are gonna happen next week. And then after that, they just have finals, so seniors are almost done. And then for sports, our boys and girls track teams are doing really well, and tonight and tomorrow they have their division championships. So best of luck to them, and tomorrow the boys is actually at home on the track here. And then also our junior prom is this Friday, so at the old Hyatt on Goat Island. I think it's under new management now, it's Gurney's Resort, but that's what's happening this Friday. And then AP exams end this week, and after that, it'll be smooth sailing.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move over to our facilities update.
Sure.
So our facility director, Matt Murphy, townwide, district-wide, is here tonight to give you an update. We're 10 months into the first year of our Aramark contract of outsourcing facilities management. Been a lot of good stuff going on. Matt's been hard at work as far as I can tell. He's taken about 3 days of vacation. And he's got a presentation tonight. I know there's been some interest from the school committee to get an update, and we'll do this periodically going forward.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, thank you. Well, I wanted to update you, as Chris said, on where we're at right now, 10 months in, and share some successes we've had in the facilities department. I listed some program highlights. We've began the new work order system. So you had a system in place, but it didn't include preventative maintenance. So we've now added a preventative maintenance portion to that work order system that's computer generated, and I'll go through that as we go through the slides. We have inventoried all the assets, so that would be boilers, fans, pumps, just about everything you can imagine. That process alone took almost about a month and a half, really, to get everything. So, for instance, there's 74 fans on top of the high school. So it was quite a process. So what we do then is we take the information from that asset inventory, put it into the PM system, and based on what that equipment is, it then puts together the maintenance program for the year, whether it's a yearly program, quarterly, or monthly. We've begun a safety program, which started shortly after I started here, which is it's pretty exciting. It's a daily brief that the folks do at the building level, and what they do is discuss a daily topic for the week, and also share one of those as we go through. What that does is it reminds you of the things that we all kind of take for granted, like, you know, pay attention where you're walking, that kind of stuff, but it's that repetitive reinforcement that the folks seem to like it. A lot of times you look at it and realize things that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. We want our folks to go home the same way they came in. So we've started a new cleaning product and dispenser. So when we started here, the district had one product that they used for everything, disinfecting restrooms, glass, and all that. So now we have a product for each of those specific tasks. So you have a glass cleaner, bathroom cleaner, and disinfectant. You have to excuse me, my allergies are killing me. I don't know if anyone else is going through it, so I have to clear my throat. So we have new touchless cleaning equipment. So everyone's thinking, well, how can you clean if you don't touch it? So what that equipment is it's actually a machine, and I'll show you it as we go through, that's used in bathrooms. It can be used in locker rooms, where it's a shop vac, power washer, and a vacuum all in the same thing. Pretty exciting if you're into that kind of stuff. Along with that, we've started to do some quality control data gathering. It's an app on my phone where I can go through the buildings, and as I see things, whether it's to improve on cleaning or ceiling tile needs to be replaced or that kind of stuff, I can actually, in the field, add those in. So we'll start to migrate that into the PM program. And then the projects that we have, that we worked on since I've started, and the vast projects, and the many projects we have coming up over the summer. So I gave you a sample of a corrective work order. So this is done at the building level through the head custodian or through the lead custodian or any custodian for that matter in the building. So if the principal or a staff member reaches out to them and says, you know, my door knob's loose, or ceiling tile, or there's a frayed carpet, they send this into us in facilities, and then from there I can designate out whether it's our folks, our maintenance crew that does it, or if it's we have to go to a vendor outside. This one here is a sample. It just gives you an idea of the information that they can put in it. You can put as much as you want or as little as you want. It depends on what's being done. The next slide is, this is a preventative maintenance work order, and it's a little bit more involved. This gives you the specific details on if you're going to, you know, look at a pump. Look at a pump or a boiler or that. It gives you actually a breakdown of exactly what needs to be done to that specific equipment. A lot of the larger equipment, what we do is, you know, some of that is subbed out to contractors, or our maintenance folks do that in-house. So this will give you an idea as far as the turnaround time that it takes and some quantities involved as far as the work orders that come in. You'll see a breakdown through the month where we started to inventory these beginning in September as far as what's scheduled and what's completed. It also gives you an idea of how long it takes us to turn these around. So, for instance, 60% of the work orders are done within 2 days to a week. 20% are a day and under. Those would be things that are, urgent needs, whether it's locks or leaks and that kind of thing. And then the balance is a week to a month. So those are things that we can flush out if they don't need to be done immediately. So you'll notice where you have the percentage of completed work orders. What we do is we take some of the work orders that come in can be a wish list kind of thing. So what we'll do is we'll take those off and put them into projects so that we can schedule those for whether it's a summer project or whether or not we can do it within a specific break over breaks. Okay, so this is the asset inventory. I had folks from Aramark came here and actually went through, as I said, we happen to have the fire station picture up here. I couldn't find a picture of us in the boiler room. But they went through and with a laptop, we inventoried each, assigned a number to it, put it into the program, and then merged that based on what needed to be done. These will come out to me automatically, so I know it takes the human error out of it. It shoots out to me when they need to be done, which is very helpful. So here's our safety program that I talked about. These are daily reminders, as I said, through the week. They use it each week of the month. They receive these, and at the end of the month, there's attendance taken, and they turn it into us, letting us know that they understood and went through the program. I get recommendations from the staff sometimes if they notice, equipment they may need that ties into this, whether it's, we need more goggles, we need more gloves. So it's been helpful as far as that goes. So here's our new chemical program, the green cleaning program. This year, as I said, we had one product when we started. We now have the 4 specific: disinfectant, all-purpose, bathroom cleaner, and glass. Those are new dispensers as well. And the folks seem to really enjoy the ease of operation and the fact that they can clean a glass without using disinfectant and streaks and specific to where they're cleaning. And here's an exciting piece of equipment that I shared before. This is the Kaivac machine. It's a power sprayer and a vacuum. So what they can do is whatever specific product, cleaning product you put into it, you can go into a restroom and spray it down, rinse it, and then vacuum it up without, as I said, touchless, using rags, and it really gets into the grout and that kind of thing. The folks, again, seem to like that. It cuts a lot of time in cleaning and improves the cleaning as well. Project management. Well, again, as Chris said, we've had quite a few projects that we've gone through since I've started. I've listed them here. One that I didn't include was the conference room in the library, which I think you folks were in for your executive session. We carpeted and painted that room as well. But we've gone through the boiler replacements, the district energy lighting efficiency project, and with that, we have the capital projects that are coming up this summer. So that kind of leads me into the on deck where we're at now. Training. So our maintenance and custodial team were recertified or certified in crowd control management. We use those folks for events throughout the district. I attended a bomb threat management planning as well as a school safety conference. And then we've also trained the folks in the new cleaning products and along with that new equipment. So on deck right now, we're working on getting the summer schedules together as far as cleaning, preparing for the PM schedules, and we're reviewing the capital projects that are going to be coming up as well. And then we'll start to begin adding new equipment as we go along, which will mimic or expand on that touchless cleaning as well. So that's all I have. I appreciate you bearing with me as I try and breathe. So no, I'm very excited. We've done a lot in the short amount of time that we've been here. The staff, and when I say we, I mean the staff as well, the custodial team and maintenance folks have been very helpful in adapting to some of the changes and adding their insight as well.
I'd just like to, just want to add as well that there was a lot of apprehension with the staff when Mr. Murphy came on board, just, the concept of outsourcing and what's new and that type of thing. And I can tell you that he's really won over everybody. He's very well respected, very well liked, and we've gotten way past that, and we're working fabulously as a team.
Just real quick, Mr. Murphy, are we, will there be any schools that we have to, close because of
Projects coming up.
projects coming this summer that, people can't go in and work?
Well, we've moved some of the programs to the middle school from the Alphabets program was moved to the middle school. Other than that, any space that we're using is going to be shifted to the middle school program-wise. We prefer that folks stay out of the buildings, obviously, when we have construction going on. A majority of it isn't really that, the roofs aren't too much of a problem, but we are doing a lot of floor work. So we'll work with the schedule that we have as far as FS Direct and the facilities rentals to work around that.
Well, I'm just curious, how much is that one of those Kiowa machines? I'm considering getting one for myself.
You probably get your discount.
Yeah, okay.
No, they're about $2,800.
Well, no, not so much.
So.
I was really, the label here, green cleaning products, does that mean all the cleaning products we're using in the district are environmentally friendly? And
Yes, they are, absolutely.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
That's something Aramark's done for quite a long time, prior to it being cool or the right thing to do. So yeah, they are.
Great.
I had a question too on the work order system now. Are you able to print out a report at certain intervals to see what kind of things
Trends
that
and
say, yeah, like,
Absolutely, yep,
right,
yeah.
that
So
are
we-
happening in the building?
Yep, absolutely, yeah. It's
Okay.
you folks are lucky you have new boilers, you have a lot of new equipment that you've been doing. So that helps in kind of creating a base for us for the future, so that
Right.
we can maintain.
I guess I'm thinking about like when a teacher calls, if a teacher complains, say, a leak in the roof or something in their classroom,
Mhm.
that they get a work order like that would go through that? Is that what
Yes,
you're saying?
so the staff member or through the principal would report it to the custodian in the building, and then they would enter that into the work order system, which would come to me.
Right.
And
So,
then I disperse it from there.
So a bit, it will trickle down to
Trickle down,
one
yeah.
of those.
What we do is,
forms.
obviously we don't want, it's not that we don't want everyone to have access to sending in, but,
No.
somewhat of a control, yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Does somebody go and verify what the
Yeah, so-
teacher
Absolutely, yeah. So we do it at the level first on the building before they actually put in a
Put in
work
the
order.
system,
Yeah,
right.
so we don't have,
Yeah.
a lot of things can be done, if it's a ceiling tile or something like that, can be done on site
Just be fixed.
before it's entered in. And then from there, when it gets to me, I then follow up as well. So whether the maintenance folks come out, so what we do then is they come, make the repairs, and then we remove it from the system and then put in the reason or what was done to it. So again, we can start to look at trends on, geez, we're going through a lot of belts or whatever it may be,
Right. Okay, thank you.
What type of, or what amount of involvement are you going to have this summer with the fourth grade classes, if any, or what, or?
Quite a bit. Yeah, no, I work with the principals in the buildings as far as, moving room assignments, who's going where, and coordinating the moving of materials from building to building. So I'm very involved in that.
And the town needs you, how much, or maybe I don't want to ask that question, sounds like we're getting a good value.
Yeah, it's an 80-20 split.
Okay, okay.
Just
I knew
100%.
And I would say,
120.
yeah, just to be clear too, we did work it out with the town that when Mr. Murphy did come on,
Yeah,
it was right at the start of summer. We needed to make sure that the schools had the deep clean, the projects for the summer needed to
Right.
happen. So the town agreed that he would work for us 100% until December 31st to
right,
get that under our belt and then bring up the
Yeah.
town, and that's exactly what happened.
yeah, and so, and that 80-20 seems to work out, okay,
Yep, absolutely, yeah.
great. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thanks.
I have one more
Oh,
question.
sorry.
I'd like to ask you about the training programs that you have for custodians here.
I'm
You're
sorry.
referring to the crowd control management,
Yeah.
threat,
Sure.
and other programs. And how do the custodians fit into those programs?
Well, so you mean the training that they've received?
Right.
So some of the folks had that training or were certified in the crowd control management. So we use those in the larger functions that we have here. And they're specifically trained to assist in crowd control. So that's, back to the game face towards the crowd versus just a general custodial type situation. So they've been excited, and we've had a few people that were already certified get recertified, and a few new folks join on as well. I think it's important to have, particularly with the size of the events that we have here.
Well, it
in
sounds like
Portsmouth.
we're gaining value out of the staff. Very multiple
We are,
staff.
yeah, absolutely, sure. Any training obviously is a good thing. This opens their eyes to some things that, again, just like the safety program, that not that you take for granted, but things that if you're doing things day to day, you tend to forget, so
Yeah,
it's worked out well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
Mhm.
I move that we approve the minutes of both April 11th and April 25th.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Madam Chair, I move the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
And just, we have a teacher recall on there, so we are recalling Danielle Dorr, our life skills teacher at the high school. And then, as you know, we have some non-renewals on here, but many of those will be kind of resolved when we get through our job assignment process. So I'll have a follow-up at the next meeting.
You want to talk about the summer enrichment?
Oh, sure. So there are also 3 different summer enrichment programs going on at the middle school this summer. As you know, we bring before you anything where we're going to charge students. However, you'll see, I think, some of these are repeat, and most of them are minimal cost. So we'll be running a summer art studio for students, a session for grades 4 and 5, and a session for grades 6 and 7 that will run in July. Those are going to run for $85 per student, and mostly because that has to pay for all the media, all the art supplies that will be used during the program. And then an underwater robotics summer camp that we're running. We'll be doing this for 7th and 8th graders, and they'll be working with the folks who run our robotics program. The cost is a little more than some of the others because it pays for all of the robotics and all those things that they'll be using, so that's $150 per student. And then finally, we have the STEAM camp, which is a repeat from last year, which is $150 for a week, and they're offering 2 different weeks. So they're doing a STEAM camp on Water Everywhere, and then Soaring to New Heights, so students could do both if they elected to. So we're just trying to offer, the middle school's offering some varied opportunities for students to keep busy right at their own middle school this summer.
And the Dean of Student Life?
Oh, sure, and we've also appointed a Dean of Student Life. As you know, this is a new position that we've talked about, and I'm happy to announce that we are actually appointing Amanda Medore, who is in the audience today. She is currently a school psychologist here at the high school. but she has been through her myriad of interviews, many layers, but she is an outstanding candidate, and we're really excited to have her working at the middle school next year.
Thank you. Okay, so item A is a discussion regarding the decision for allowing drug sniffing dogs to operate at Portsmouth High School, and this is an agenda request that Mr. McDade had has written about and had asked to bring forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. John McDade, 65 Gormley Avenue. Before I start, I just want to acknowledge the fine work that the Portsmouth Prevention Coalition has done, specifically Ray Davis and his team. I am fully in agreement with the goals of this work. I disagree on the methods, and that's what I want to speak to tonight, and I believe that we can find a middle ground here. The Fourth Amendment is what protects Americans from unreasonable search by agents of the state. Since 9/11, we've seen a significant erosion of civil liberties in the United States in the name of security. We accept full-body scans at airports. We reconcile that all phone conversations across borders can be hoovered up by the NSA. More recently, we've acquiesced to having our laptops taken and giving up our passwords to Customs and Border Protection. These developments would have horrified our founding fathers. We do not only teach subject matter in school, we also teach by example, modeling the attributes expected of citizens in American society. The Supreme Court itself recognized this fact in the West Virginia Board of Education versus Barnett, which said that you are educating the young for citizenship, and that is reason for the scrupulous protection of constitutional freedoms. My serious concern is that we are, through the practice of these warrantless dog searches, teaching students a powerful lesson about the right of the state to search their effects at will, inculcating a passive acceptance of surveillance at odds with our fundamental rights as Americans. I want all our students to know that at least some reasonable people in the community find this appalling. If you're not convinced by this general argument from Fourth Amendment grounds, perhaps you'll be persuaded by your own policy limiting police searches. The Portsmouth School Committee webpage says that school committee policies have the force of law equal to statutes or ordinances. And while I stipulate that courts have generally held student searches to be constitutional, they have agreed that there are limits and that local ordinances may be more restrictive. The Portsmouth School Committee itself has set out limits via policy. Students are notified about the possibility of searches in the PHS 2016 Student Handbook, which says students will be assigned lockers for their use. However, the locker remains school property, and periodic inspections may be made of student lockers, ... Policy 5510. There's also a section in the PHS Handbook on automotive searches, which reads, the administration reserves the right to search a vehicle given reasonable suspicion of wrongdoing. And now to Policy 5510, included by reference. It's entitled Warrantless Searches of Student Lockers, and it delineates two different standards, one for staff searches and one for police. About staff, it says, the principal of the school or his or her designee may search a student's locker if in his sole discretion the circumstances so warrant. No problem there. However, when it comes to searches involving police, 5510 enumerates additional constraints. Section 1.4, the principal of the school or his or her designee may consent to an inspection of student lockers by police officers under the following conditions. A, the principal should be completely satisfied prior to giving consent that the police are justified in their request and sufficient facts exist to require such a search. B, the principal or designee must conduct the search themselves and turn over any evidence to the police. The police officer must accompany the school official during the search, but cannot conduct the search. Note that the language throughout Section 1.4 puts the school administrator squarely in the student's corner, standing between them and the police, a position which the PHS administration has not adopted in the instant case. Now, I readily admit there are technical arguments that this is not a search under some Fourth Amendment construed. However, recently, in 2013, in the Jardine case, the Supreme Court found that there are at least some circumstances in which a dog sniff can be considered a search under strict Fourth Amendment principles. I readily admit that the circumstances here are not the same, but I would argue that there's ample reason to consider this procedure a search, even if it does not qualify strictly by the Supreme Court. You are allowed to construe more conservatively. The very act of bringing police into a building with dogs to investigate the possible presence of drugs is something a reasonable person would construe as a search. More significantly, it was described as such by Principal Amaral in his email of April 21 announcing the activity in paragraph 4, where he says, quote, "These fully trained canine units will be used to do periodic searches throughout the remainder of the school year." My argument is not that drug-sniffing dog searches is unconstitutional. Indeed, not all searches are so long as they are reasonable. But under the school committee's policy, which has the force of law, it was conducted improperly by not following your own procedure set out in 5510 1.4b. I further argue that because the PHS handbook requires reasonable suspicion for searches of student vehicles, that these searches were on their face in violation of policy. I fully recognize it is within the power of the school committee to modify its policies to explicitly permit such searches. However, given the current policies in force, I submit that you must at least suspend searches until this defect is resolved. Finally, even if you find my reasoning here unpersuasive, even if your lawyer, as I suspect they will, argues that passive dog sniffs do not constitute a search, I think anyone would have to agree that the facial purpose of 5510 was to insert a layer of protection between police and students and strike a balance between privacy and security. The Portsmouth School Committee, in adopting 5510 back in 1984, made a commitment to its students, and allowing these searches to continue without providing similar guardrails turns its back on that protection. On those grounds, I urge you to suspend these searches until an appropriate policy has been developed and approved by you, our elected representatives, not created ad hoc by school-level administrators. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just for a formality, since this is the first time this topic has come before us, I was wondering if we could ask the administration to, one, describe put some color around, what prompted them to want to do this, and then to also tell us what actually happened that day.
So if I could ask, we also invited our safety officer, Mr. Garcia, who's very knowledgeable about this matter, to come, and he's prepared to also share some information with us.
Good evening. If I may, I'd like to pass out some basic information, and some case law. I guess we could start with
Lawyer.
lawyer. I just thought it'd be good to give you some information, kind of baseline as to information pertaining to public school canine narcotic sniffs, how the Supreme Court has ruled on them, what the major landmark cases have stated, how they've been enforced for the last 32 years. And I think that, like you said, Mr. Wojciechowski, that this might illuminate things and make things a little more easy for people to understand. We'll start with the basics. Case law is basically stated, and again, Madam Counselor, it's been too long since my intensive criminal law and constitutional law classes at the police academy, so feel free if I stray a little bit to realign me, please. According to New Jersey v. TLO, which is the major landmark case that I first posted under case law, a canine sniff of property is not a search under the Fourth Amendment when it comes to dealing with public schools. This is a major landmark case which basically, and I'll paraphrase, involved two children smoking cigarettes in a bathroom. A school teacher walked up to the bathroom, could smell the cigarettes, waited outside until they both came out. This happened in 1985 in the state of New Jersey. One of the students readily admitted to smoking cigarettes. The other student did not admit it. TLO are the initials of that student. The student was then taken to a principal's office. The principal then searched her pocketbook and found, I believe it to be cigarette rolling papers which were used to roll marijuana cigarettes, a pack of cigarettes, etc. She was charged with juvenile delinquency and violating school policy. That then was moved to a juvenile court, excuse me. After that, there was some appeals and some legal wrangling all the way up through the state Supreme Court in New Jersey. The Supreme Court of the United States granted certiorari, which meant that they wanted to hear the facts of this case. The problem was that the state of New Jersey stated that it was a Fourth Amendment violation. And basically what the Supreme Court came down to was that the court stated in the unique context of a school environment, and I'll read right from the bottom of the page, school staffs and administrators need to maintain order and discipline, and they need a certain degree of flexibility in order to do that, in this case pertaining to the warrantless search. The search must be justified at its conception and has to be reasonably related in its scope. Okay, basically they need a reason. In this case, that the kids, they smelled the cigarettes, they knew that something was going on in that bathroom, and the scope of the search was basically just that child's pocketbook and her personal belongings in her person. Okay. Moving forward, and we'll talk about the basics of the canine sniff and how it pertains to the recent Portsmouth High School search. The courts have maintained for, like I said, over 30 years that a canine sniff of property is not a search under the Fourth Amendment in a public school. There does not need to be prior reasonable suspicion prior to the canine sniff. A positive alert from a trained narcotics detector dog gives reasonable suspicion of the presence of narcotics. This reaction gives the handler probable cause for a warrant. And that's U.S. v. Socolow, and that deals with agents of the state, okay, which are law enforcement officers, okay, or federal agents, not school staff. And I think we need to make that abundantly clear. That's where that reasonableness standard and that warrantless search standard comes into play. School staffs and school teachers are not agents of the state, so they're not held to that same level. School officials do not need a warrant to conduct a search. That, again, is New Jersey v. TLO. Canines are not used to search people or students, and law enforcement does not condone that. I've been involved in law enforcement for 30 years now, and I've never seen it. It doesn't happen. It's basically too dangerous and too intimidating, okay? Canines are not brought in, which brings me to my next point, and used for intimidation. They weren't used for intimidation that day at Portsmouth High School, here. They're not the total answer or solution for drug problems. With that, we can agree. Canines are one part of a multifaceted answer and are in fact proactive when used in school in a professional and positive manner on a regular basis in a non-disruptive manner. I just threw in 2 bullet points there that students have a right to attend and learn in a safe, drug-free school. I think we can all agree on that.
Absolutely.
And schools are not and cannot be a safe haven for drug users and drug dealers. Questions?
Well, this is on, but again, I guess what I'm interested in hearing is what led us up to the point where the administration felt we should take this step. That's number one. So put a little color around that, and then I'm interested to know what actually happened that day at the high school.
Mr. Amaral is here, I think.
As you know, previous to this, we have done a lot of work in terms of educating students about the proper protocols relative to drug use in our school. We have clear policies. We have brought in outside speakers from different organizations to educate all kids in the manners of the dangers of drug use. And for the 99% of the kids that are in school, that come to school without drugs and come into a safe environment, the purpose of doing this is because we had suspicion that there might have been a student or students that were illicitly distributing drugs in the bathroom. Even after all the education opportunities that we had, we looked around for other solutions to try to make sure that didn't happen. One of the ways that we looked to our partner in Middletown that has done this for 2 years. We spoke to the principal at Middletown High School. It's an effective way to make sure, in conjunction with a lot of educational opportunities for kids, to make sure that we kept drugs off school. There's nothing more intimidating than to walk into a bathroom, seeing 2 kids potentially exchanging something, and then you're the victim because now you might have seen them do something, and now you're afraid if they get caught, they think it was you that might have snitched on them. That's terrifying for the 99% of our kids who make good choices every day. And they think that parents have a reasonable expectation that as a school, we're doing everything we can to make sure that kids stay safe. And this was just one more tool that we used. Now, on that particular day, we had done a lockdown. A lockdown by its nature, the students would go to a corner of the room, they would sit on the floor, they would shut off the lights, they would lock the door, and then our personnel make sure all the doors are locked in case of an intruder. It started off as a lockdown, like we do every other time. The only difference is myself or an administrator would go into the room. We would ask students to leave their backpacks, because that's their principal source of carriage that they use at the school. They don't use lockers for the most part. Ask them to go to another room adjacent to the room that they're in, so there would be no interaction at all between police or dogs with the students, because I understand that could be rather intimidating. The dogs with administration, we split up as teams. There were 4 dogs, went into 2 to 3 classrooms. They sniffed they're trained to sniff the backpacks and see if there's any targeted drugs like marijuana in those backpacks. We did that for 2 or 3 rooms, and then there were no incidences. And then the dogs went outside and did the parking lot with the administration. If there had been a student that was identified as having been under suspect, the administrator is the one that does the search. The administrator is the one that deals with the students, not the police, not the dogs. So, and then in those cases, we follow our protocol to try to get help. If it's a disciplinary matter, we follow up with the disciplinary matter. But I think that's the most important part here. This is part of a bigger picture of us trying to make sure that the school is safe. But more importantly, we have, and I think in society and talking to other principals around the state, that illegal drugs is becoming more available. And we have to protect those kids that come to school every day to make sure that they're safe. And if there's another tool down the line that helps us, help kids, all kids, stay away from that path, then we're going to utilize it. I don't know if there are other tools out there that's available. Maybe there will be, but I don't see that any different than if we are having a prom or a dance and making sure that students aren't coming to those proms and dances drunk, because it provides a public safety problem for other kids that are there to have a good time and not be endangered by those students that make bad choices. So that's the events that inspired that day. It lasted we notified the parents when it happened right at the beginning. We sent an email to everyone. We sent an email when it was finished, and when the search was finished, and the lockdown was finished. And we commended the students for their cooperation. Because I think, if I heard any comments back from the students, is they wanted to see the dogs, they wanted to pet the dogs, they wanted to play with the dogs, but that's not their role. So those are the feedbacks I got. That's the feedback I got from the students. And just as a sidebar moment, this morning we had a unsolicited, I'm there in the morning greeting students as they come into school, and this girl who had been here for the first time, I never had any personal interaction with her, out of the blue, came to me and said, this is my first year at Portsmouth High School. And I want to thank you because of how safe it is here and for you to bring in the dogs. And I'm saying, what do you mean? Well, in my other school, there would be fights and drug dealers and things that people, it was so much that it was so distracting to the learning environment. And I'm so appreciative when I come here to Portsmouth High School, it's safe and people feel like it's okay to say no to drugs. But we know it's never 100%. So that really made a difference. It made me feel good that I think we're making the right choices, even in the minds of the kids. If this kid had the courage to come and see me for this reason and make that statement, I got to believe other kids feel the same way. But they're probably not going to advertise it in a banner. But they probably feel like we do have a drug-free culture. We've done a lot as a community to support kids making good choices, and we should be proud of that. And I think they probably, if she's an indication of the rest of the student body, I would think that they feel that this is a place that we take safety seriously, and we're going to act on it. And we're not going to just do one thing, we're going to do multiple things. We have another assembly Friday morning that's going to be geared for the juniors and seniors through our SAD program, Students Against Destructive Decisions, to make sure that they're not making bad decisions when they go into prom. So it's not like we're doing this in isolation, that this is something that we just created. It's purposeful, it's part of the response to what we're seeing in school, and we're going to continue to educate as early as this Friday with the juniors and seniors within the assembly Friday morning to make sure they don't drink and drive or do anything that's going to impair their ability to stay sober for the rest of the year. So it's part of a bigger picture, and that's what happened that day.
As a school committee member, like some of my colleagues on the school committee, I've attended seminars mostly about the potential for the legalization of marijuana in the state, but in those seminars, I've learned things that I didn't know before. You know, the pot that we're talking about, the marijuana that we talk about today, is far more powerful than the marijuana of 10, 15 years ago. But more than that, it's not simply, you know, lighting up a joint and enjoying that. It's edibles. And the edibles come in the form of candy bars, gummy bears, mascara sticks. They're not so much edibles, but I mean the marijuana can be conveyed through what looks like an innocent marijuana stick. Of course, vaporizers, inhalers, ballpoint pens. I mean, these things can be standing right in front of you, and you have no idea that this is drug paraphernalia. And so to have, as you say, in the future, we may have other technology that enables us to detect this, but for the time being, we don't. So dog sniffers, who I presume can sniff out the items that I just mentioned, and those items can cause serious effects such as panic attacks, psychosis, send these people to the emergency room. And the kid you mentioned, that some of these kids, they come to school with cars, they'll hop in the car, they may be high, they've had, the edibles take 2 to 3 hours, I understand, to take effect. So you could be taking somebody could give you an innocent looking candy bar, you're eating the whole candy bar, and you're feeling great, and then suddenly you learn, well, there's pot in that. 2 to 3 hours later, it's gonna hit you, and meanwhile you're driving home, perhaps with other kids in the car. I mean, this is a total safety issue, and our job is to ensure the safety of the students, a drug-free environment, no distractions to enable them to perform academically as well as we expect. And I'm totally supportive of your actions, and I rely on yourself and the superintendent to continue to conduct those activities if necessary.
I just would like to say I was a member of the Juvenile Hearing Board for several years here in the town, and I think that all of the methods that are being used, it's an all of the above type situation. So I would like to just say in general that there has to be a public balance, which I think you're hitting, and that there's privacy versus the security, and so those issues have to be looked at, and in your particular position and our position with the school board and that in educating the children, we have to go along this process. So I will say right to that, I support what you did and how you're working on the process. Thank you very much.
I was just going to offer, as some perspective, I was a high school principal prior to this in North Kingstown. This was a regular practice that I inherited when I came into that school. We did it a few times while I was there. Most of the surrounding communities, in that area were doing the same thing. I realize every community is a little different. I think here, what we're experiencing is this was just the first time that it had been done. Also, I think another point, just to clarify, as Ms. Irmo said, this type of thing typically, as it did in North Kingstown and other communities I'm familiar with, starts with a lockdown drill. So that's part of the regular drill requirement that we have to do. We have to do a certain number of lockdowns, every school does per year. So we're not in that case doing anything in addition to just for the drug search. So it will count as one of the lockdown drills that had to be done.
I wanted to ask our attorney, do you think that the policy that Mr. McDade mentioned, do we need to look at that at all?
You always look at policies, but I do not believe that we violated that policy, because I do not believe bringing dogs into the school is a search. So your policy talked about searches. I don't believe that that's a search. They walk through, if they find something, then it is the administrator that would be looking in the locker, looking in the car, looking in, and administrators and staff members have a right to do that. So should we take a look at the policy? We should take a look at all policies at any time to see if we need to tweak it. But do I think what we did violated your policy? Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Unlike Mr. Garcia, it hasn't been that long since I took my criminal and constitutional law classes. I have a bachelor's degree in administration of justice, and actually the Florida v. Jardines case cited had to do with personal private property. They brought a drug sniffing dog onto somebody's front porch in their yard and did a search. It actually specifically says in the ruling that it doesn't pertain to private or publicly owned public places where the sniffs from drug sniffing dogs are plain sniff doctrine and permitted under the law.
Sure. Thanks.
My name is Ray Davis. I am the coordinator for the Portsmouth Prevention Coalition. I'm a certified prevention specialist supervisor. I have to start off with a little humor. My mother always said I would have made a good lawyer if it hadn't been for those damn Beatles. I am not a lawyer. I'm going to start off by talking about what Mr. Amaral had just said. Portsmouth has worked very hard to come a long way about understanding substance abuse issues that are in Portsmouth. And I want to commend Portsmouth for the change that's occurred over the years. I've been before you many times. We've done 3 years of very detailed studies on what are the substance abuse issues in the town of Portsmouth, specifically around adolescents, specifically our students. And I want to thank Mr. Amaral especially for his open door policy with me, for his cooperation with the Prevention Coalition from day one, not hiding anything or trying to sweep anything under a rug. And that atmosphere, along with all the other things that have been done, like Patriots Committed, thank you, Ms. Larson, Patriots Committed, Life of an Athlete program, changing the chemical health policy, changing the policy for faculty as well. All the work that's been done by Joel with changing the health curriculum to have a 30% influence on and attention to what are substance abuse issues and prevention things. We have 2 school resource officers in Portsmouth now, where 2 years ago we had none, and we've been looking for that for a long time. I participated in every one of the focus groups with our students for the last 3 years, and the last survey that we did students told us that they see a difference in Portsmouth schools due to all of those things and those police officers as well. And I understand your concerns, Mr. McDade, but I want to go back to a couple of weeks ago. One of the assemblies that the school brought in was from the United States District Attorney's Office. They've been here several times doing a presentation on chasing the dragon, specifically around heroin and opioids. And they changed it a little bit this time with David Neal, who is the chief investigator for the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Rhode Island. He's a retired narcotics officer from the Rhode Island State Police. Talked about 2 current raids that occurred in in Rhode Island. One of those, they found a pill manufacturing in the dealer's home where they were making pills and cutting it with fentanyl. Fentanyl is a deadly, deadly drug that is being used with heroin in Rhode Island, and is one of the reasons why you're seeing more deaths because of opiates and heroin than there are traffic accidents in Rhode Island last year. The other raid was with marijuana, where the dealer was mixing marijuana with anxiety medication because of the effect of that very high THC content that is in the marijuana now, to sell more of his product. Now, I know I'm being a little dramatic here, but the thing is, what if a student had purchased some marijuana that they bought here from another student, and something was in it, and something happened to that student? We'd all be outraged. My hat's off to Mr. Amaral for conducting that search in the proper manner that it was conducted with the police. And the one thing about dealing with Mr. Amaral, that his first concern has always been in any discussion with me about what can we do to help a student who we find is having some problems with this. Are there more resources that you can find me? I, for one, am really very appreciative of the change that's occurred, not only with us as a community, but also within the students in Portsmouth too. As Mr. McDade had talked about last year, and I realize this was last year, not now, things change. For the first time in my career, I've seen a downturn in substance abuse used by our students. That doesn't mean we're in the clear, we're done, anything, but there's been some changes in Portsmouth, and we should be very proud of that, and that's because of all the people in this room and the volunteers on that prevention coalition and the town and police working together to try and do something about this. And I think this is just another tool that we're used, and my hat's off to you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So tonight was a discussion, and I guess at this point, we'll just,
Well, I would just make one recommendation to John Wojciechowski, he's the chairman of the policy subcommittee, and to the staff, is that we really need to get a handle on policy. But it's like this is policies back in 1984. And another problem with it is that whoever made these policies mixes procedure with policy. We make policies, the superintendent develops the procedures. And we need to segregate those two items, because I think this has been, members of the public, when they go through the book, this is a primary source of confusion. And something that we really need to put on priority.
so I'm totally supportive of that. We'll bring this back to the policy subcommittee for review.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for everyone that came out on this topic.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the March financials.
Second. So the year's almost over.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, I know, right? So through March year to date, we've put together an updated forecast. Looks like it's going to be a good year for us. Again, we've had a lot of savings from a lot of hard work the district has done, and Mr. Murphy has been a part of that around some of the utility and boiler work and savings from utilities. Also around, as we've talked before many times, life insurance and health insurance plan changes, and a lot of savings related to that. So our revenues look like they're projected to be about $100,000 favorable to budget, primarily in federal impact aid. And the good news on federal impact aid as well is that the most recently passed budget that goes through September actually includes an increase in impact aid, whereas President Trump had proposed eliminating it over that same period of time. So we had put that risk out there. I want to let you know that for at least now, that's no longer a risk. And on the expense side, as I mentioned, we've had some real good operational savings. We look at will be about $500,000 favorable to our budget for the year.
Great. And does that include the work we're going to do on the admin building?
It does.
So that's after the admin? Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions? All in favor then?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the safety truancy residency officer contract.
I'll second it.
Is there,
It's in executive session.
yeah. Is there any discussion?
Well, just to say that we did discuss it in the executive session, so no one will
Yes.
approve it.
Yes. So all in favor of
Aye.
approving? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. And we will move, so we're on item D. Can I get a motion for
Madam
approving?
Chair, I move we, can we do D and E together? I move we approve the bids for the partial roof.
I think we should separate.
Okay, I move we approve the bid for the partial roof replacement at Hathaway Elementary School.
Second.
So we opened our public bids back on April 27th. We had two bidders, Capeway Roofing, who actually did the work at Hathaway last summer, did a very nice job, was the low bidder. The project price that was bid was $274,700. If you remember from a few meetings ago, we had talked about how that price was going to be a lot higher than the original $203,000 budget, based on the core sample that found a second roof. It actually came in a little bit below our expectation. It came in a lot higher than our budget, but it came in lower than what I explained to you we thought. And so we'll only need to use $71,700 of the capital project funds. I had requested $128,000, so that came in a little bit favorable. So I'm asking you tonight to award the bid to Capeway Roofing Systems.
I would like to say that I think that the final bid that you're asking for approval is a very favorable bid, and I support it totally.
Thank you.
Then, all in favor then? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the bid for the partial roof replacement at Naval Elementary School.
Second.
So we opened that bid at the same time. We had the same two bidders, and Capeway Roofing Systems, Inc. Came in again as the low bidder. Again, good experience with them last summer. Total price for that project came in $230,000. Our budget was $185,658. So therefore, I'm requesting that we use some of those capital project funds that we just freed up from the Hathaway project to finish that in the amount of $45,142. All in all, combined, both of those are $11,568 lower than the amount I had requested at the last meeting. And I do want to mention as well that we did work with RIDE, and we have approval from them to adjust both of those projects and get full reimbursement on housing aid to the town.
Great.
When we're done with this, that means all the roofs have now been taken
Nope.
apart.
These are partial roof replacements. We have one more project in our 5-year plan at Hathaway. That will complete Hathaway completely. And then we have a high school roof that we're planning to do as well. I think that's year 4 or 5, I can't remember. And Hathaway is the other year.
And Melville just has been partially replaced.
Correct. Melville's been partially replaced.
So this will fix the water thing that went into the library?
Which building?
At Melville?
At Melville. Yeah, no, the Melville library leak, yeah, that was not actually a roofing issue. That was the univents against the wall.
No, that was Hathaway. At Millville, it was that light window in the ceiling.
Oh, the skylight, yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. I couldn't think of the word.
So many roofs, so many leaks. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to replace them all.
The estimated life of these repairs, 20, 25 years?
I think we are going with a 25-year warranty.
Okay. Any other questions, then? All in
Just
favor?
a
Oh, sorry.
side note, I think it would be good, this summer or early fall, maybe have a conversation with the capital improvement subcommittee on whether or not we can look at accelerating the 5-year plan and doing both through projects at the same time. Anyway, I think it's worth a conversation.
Yeah, I believe it absolutely is. I think the 5th year of our 5-year plan only includes that one very large roofing project. So if we were to move that forward and do that in year 4, we could start a new 5-year plan a year early.
Right. All right, so all in favor of the Melville roofing project? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Unanimous.
Item F, I move that we approve the transfer of $25,293 from salaries to equipment to purchase and install new ADA compliant playground equipment and remove the existing equipment. I think that's Melville.
Second.
Yes, so we had originally come forward and requested $100,000. We put together just an incredible playground that I think that the school and the district is going to be really, really, really happy with. Mr. Murphy worked with Principal Liz Viveros. We have a pre-bid contract that we can purchase under. The person came out, we did some drawings. I'm happy to show anybody who would like to see them. But to really do it right and not look back and say we wish we had just spent that extra $25,000, we're asking for that money so that we can complete the project. We have a quote in hand.
So are we going to make Hathaway jealous?
No comment.
The total cost of the project is?
Total cost of the project will be $125,293.
And the primary driver here was access. We had an issue
Yes, it
with
was.
all children having equal access to the playground.
We had
So
children with
we're
mobility issues that
addressing
could not access.
Right on.
Absolutely.
So, and just because I drove by there on my way to the new dog park, we're not using, where in relation to the basketball courts? Explain that.
Sure, yeah.
Right behind.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. So from the basketball courts, there's going to be a ramp directly onto the big piece of equipment, so there won't need to be a walkway to head down. And then from the equipment, you can make your way down to the big
And that
at the
makes it
bottom.
wheelchair accessible
It does.
without the ramp?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's going to be, and
'Cause
all
there is
kids
still,
will
there is
access it
still
that
a
way.
little slope, but
Yes.
it's not as much slope as where the playground equipment is now.
Yes, but the ramp is going to go basically right from the
Straight,
basketball
yeah.
court to the big
That's
piece
cool.
of equipment. And all children will use it the same way.
Oh, that's great. All right, okay, awesome. So all in favor of the transfer?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Great, thank you.
Madam Chair, I move we re-adjourn back into executive session.
Yes, all, yeah, is that?
You're not
that's
re-adjourning.
Yeah, we're not, yeah.
You're
We're
you're recessing back to.
reconvening.
Reconvening. back.
Reconvening executive session.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming tonight.